Problem number 3 says factor these expressions completely if possible. Whenever we're asked to factor, we're taking a sum and we're writing it as a product. And the way that we do this is by using a generic rectangle and a diamond problem. Or you can just draw an X if you don't want to draw the whole diamond. The X squared term always goes in the lower left corner, and your constant term goes in the upper right corner. We multiply these together to get the top of the diamond. And then we take that X term and that goes on the bottom. And now we've got to figure out what X terms multiply to -30 and add to 1. And those numbers are 6 and -5. 6 times -5 is -30. 6 plus -5 is 1. And 1x is the same as x. So these two terms go back into the generic rectangle, and then we just find the length and the width. X times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, x times -5 is -5x, and then 6 times -5 is -30. And so my final answer is just this. I'm only being asked to factor. I'm not solving for x here, so I'm done with part A. For part B, we've got some not nice coefficients, but I'm looking at these numbers and I'm noticing that there's no common factor that I can take out, but there is an extra x term in each one. So let's factor out an x from all of these terms because we do want to factor completely, and this means factoring out common factors when they are there. And let's also factor out a negative because I like to have a positive x squared term. It just makes it a little easier. So let's factor out -x. If I factor out a negative from a negative, I end up with a positive. I still have a 3 here. And then factoring out an x just means that my exponent goes down by 1. So instead of having x cubed, now I have x squared. Because 23x squared was originally positive and I'm factoring out a negative, now this is negative. I keep the same coefficient, but because I'm taking out an x instead of x squared, this is now just x. And then factoring out -x from -14x will just leave me with +14. And now this is what I will be putting into my generic rectangle and my diamond. 3x squared goes down here, +14 goes up here. We multiply those two and we get 42x squared. We take our x term, -23x, and put it down here. And now we've got to figure out what two numbers multiply to 42 and add to -23. Because we have a positive product and a negative sum, I'm thinking that these two numbers are going to be negative. And they are going to be -21 and -2. -21 plus -2 is -23, and -21 times -2 is +42. So these terms go back into the generic rectangle. We can find the length and the width now. 3x times x is 3x squared. That makes us a -7. That makes us a -2. And we've got our answer. Just make sure that you're not forgetting this common factor out front. You still need that -x or whatever you factored out, and then you can write the length and the width. Or width first and length second, but make sure your common factor is first. Okay, that's it for part B. Part C, no common factor because there's no number that goes into 2, 5, and 4. So start right ahead with your generic rectangle and your diamond. 2x squared goes down here, 4 goes up here. Multiply those two to get 8x squared. Put -5x down here. Can I think of two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to -5? No. No, there's nothing. So this would be not factorable, because nothing will multiply to 8 and add to -5. Okay, so last but not least, we have part D. I'm noticing that 6, 10, and 24 are all divisible by 2. So let's factor that out. Not only are they all divisible by 2, but they also all have an extra x term. Instead of having x squared, x in a constant term, I have x cubed, x squared, and x, just like I did in part B. So let's factor out an x here as well. Factoring out a 2 from 6 leaves me with 3, and then factoring out an x from x cubed leaves me with x squared. 10 divided by 2 is 5, x squared divided by x is x. 24 divided by 2 is 12, x divided by x is just 1. So this last term is constant. And this is what we put into our generic rectangle. 3x squared goes here, -12 up here. You multiply those two together to get -36x squared. 5x goes here. What two numbers multiply to -36 and add to 5? That would be 9 and -4. Put those back into the rectangle. Find the length and the width. And my final answer, again, don't forget that common factor out in front, would be 2x times 3x minus 4 times x plus 3. And that's it.